That would be awesome. Well, here we go, guys.
I'm actually going to wear a bird suit during the finals.
We'll just like float down from the rafters or something on a zip line. That'd be awesome.
A zip line over the audience in chicken costumes.
We'll have Michael Keaton show up in his Birdman suit from that movie. It's a great movie, by the way. CJ versus Jin Air. First game of the playoffs. I'm happy we're back in the best of fives again. Che getting chased away. Poked pretty hard.
Yeah, W start from Morgana, though. So
that makes sense, getting that quicker level 2.
Yeah, not too surprising, but he did show that he actually had leveled that ability already. So they are going to get a ward in, CJ that is, at the Gromp to see what is going on in that lane. Looks like Pilot may be going for a lane swap right here just to farm up. Of course, having that Kog'Maw W harass very annoying early, and a Morgana not the best lane for Thresh either. I mean, so Jin Air wanting to have that swap is somewhat understandable, but they could be doing a 2v1 mid. Ooh, Doa. I like it. The strats.
It's going to really mess with this Cassiopeia.
It really will.
It's going to be pretty hard.
And GBM going to be going top in that solo matchup, one would presume, after Hecarim gets level 2 from the Raptors.
Well, and Lulu's going to be able to poke Hecarim very heavily early on.
It's really annoying, even if he does have a level advantage.
Yeah, I like the way these lanes are shaping up for Jin Air early on. A good start.
So, another 2v1 mid, actually.
Yeah. We've been seeing more of this with that Smite top meta.
Yeah, KT actually executed this extremely well in one of their recent games.
Yeah.
Probably the most impressive Smite top we've seen was Sunday's Hecarim in that game where some of the 2v1 mid came in. They decided to put Nagne on Kennen in the bottom lane and 1v2 him, and they really got a huge advantage out of that low kill game, but very effective. So Shai's just going to go ahead and TP in after taking the Raptors, and Chaser will grab the blue buff after Gromp, and then we will see the TP from Trace.
In that game, though, with KT, that Hecarim came in late and just destroyed people. It wasn't even funny.
Yeah, you look at the stat line, you're like, oh, someday was 0-0-6 on Hecarim, and then you realize he was 100 CS ahead, and nobody could do anything about him, and they successfully denied a lot of farm from the enemy. And so Jin Air, a little bit of a copying of that style, of course, having Shyvana in the 2v1, not nearly as good as a Kennen.
I really like this, though, against Hecarim, because by keeping the lane presumably pushed up against her, it's going to give Hecarim less chance to go and farm the jungle, right?
You know what I would have done, though, Doa?
What?
Is I think I would have given Lulu the blue buff and sent her into bottom lane in a 1v2. You have to question that a little bit just because she does have more of an ability to farm, but also Trace has that smite, so he can go back and farm the jungle. I'm not sure which would be better, but it is a consideration in this game.
Well, Lulu is quite a mana hog, though, so giving her the blue buff would be really nice, especially if you want to just keep pushing the lane with those glitter lances. Yeah, I see what you mean. I kind of like it.
Trace seems to be doing okay, however. He is a bit behind in terms of CS, and Coco has been able to clear out that wave in the mid lane with some efficiency. Space, try and freeze the wave right here.
Yep.
Dragging it up towards the tri-brush, and he's not going to be able to do it, actually.
Tried. The other wave just didn't quite get there in time.
Trace chasing him out just a little bit. He's going to go back and do the Gromp right now.
Yep, he needs a bit more CS. He's down by 12 to Shy already.
This isn't working out great, although we do have a slight lead for GBM by that token, and Trace is actually getting more money by farming this Gromp. So it's really hard to judge these situations.
You know, it is. With all the extra gold you get from some of these Smite top laners, it is a little bit challenging. But actually, Trace not starting with Machete or anything like that, so I don't believe he gets any bonus gold, does he?
No, he doesn't get bonus gold, but still, the jungle camps are worth a lot more than a minion.
That's true.
They're worth about, the Gromp right now is worth about three minions. So
that is true.
Also, Trace is able to get that Gromp buff repeatedly, which makes it more difficult for Space to trade with him with autos. He will take a bit more damage from that. So, but even so, Shy definitely opening up with a large CS advantage right now. Trace heading back to base to pick up a cloth armor.
And Shy's Hecarim has just been kind of the latest in his line of really good champions this season.
All right, potential start here onto this dragon, but no, Ambition just wants to go ahead and get the Scuttle Crab. And there's a hook onto Coco from Che. It's a little bit of damage, Ambition there, just to make sure they're backing him up. And Chaser going with a little bit of deep warding in the enemy side. He also stole away that wolf, the big wolf camp.
I think if Jin Air could come away with anything from that last match is that we need to really have better dragon control and better vision leading into that. And I feel like some of these deep rewards are going to help them keep an eye on where Ambition is and maybe try to set that up.
Well,
Nunu has a way of taking dragon when you're not expecting it.
Trace is falling pretty far behind it here. Not in terms of levels, but just in terms of CS. We see that gulf widening as they put the Shyvana into the 1v2. And that same expanse is not opening up between Coco and GBM right now.
Well, we've seen this kind of thing before. Who was it that was playing top Vlad that got put in the bottom lane in a 2v1 and just couldn't do anything?
Yeah, like, that was Samsung tried that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite the same level, but that is one of the, I think, kind of tough things about the mid.
At least Shyvana can jungle. That's the
true.
advantage.
That's true. It's not quite as bad.
It's the advantage.
Yeah.
That is the advantage. So Mad Life coming up here into the mid lane.
Chase are coming down. Che as well, I think. They may have an idea. Ambition right there to try to help. Nice dark binding from Mad Life to make an escape. And GBM starting with an arm guard actually up against this Hecarim, so he's going to be delaying his build quite a bit. Looked like he was being harassed too much by the Hecarim, so that's a bit of a surprise right here. Yeah, I am a little bit surprised by that as well.
And it's a pretty big commitment, too, because that means that pretty much Pilot and Che have to stay in the mid lane, and that GBM is not going to be able to lane against this Cassiopeia for the next, basically the foreseeable future.
Well,
they're really committed to it, and CJ is just going to go ahead and take out an early dragon.
This is one of the reasons why they've been able to get so many of them, too, because Ambition has just been playing Nunu over and over again, and it's pretty easy to take those early dragons with Nunu.
Trace is here, though. Ambition may...
Yeah, but so is Mad Life. Oop.
Yeah, Che couldn't quite be there in time, and blue buff was already going to be taken by Chaser, so they don't have an opportunity to respond to that, even though Trace did suss it out in the end, and he's going to be in a bit of trouble here. Sheen already completed for space, so there's a lot of harassment potential, even with this cloth armor coming up.
Wow.
Yeah, space. Ugh. A lot of damage.
Yes, he's taking, both of these guys are taking quite a bit, actually. Trace is just waiting for that moment where he can just dive onto the carry and just insta-give him. Yeah, it's coming, potentially.
And it's about 300 gold, the difference right now, and most of that is just between Shy and Trace so far. It's dangerous letting this Hecarim get so big at this point in the game.
We have seen what happens when it has been allowed to occur before.
Now, even though Chaser has been had some of his camps taken, of course, by Trace in the bottom side, because they have so much pressure in the mid lane, he has a lot more freedom to roam around and counter jungle compared to Ambition. So he's been supplementing that with Ambition's camps, so they have remained pretty even in terms of CS, but they're not going to be able to take this blue buff. And really what Jin Air needs to do right now is they have to capitalize on this in terms of turrets. Jinx's fast pushing potential is obviously quite high. You want to be able to use that minigun to quickly and efficiently clear the towers out. So we'll have to see how much damage they got onto the mid lane turret. But that's going to be the thing that reverses the gold.
You know, one thing that Jin Air seems to be doing a little bit better in this first game, as Che attempts to grab Coco there, is we've seen them kind of pick themselves into compositions that have very small windows of success, and it seems like they've got a lot more wiggle room with this one.
They do, in that as long as Jinx gets big. The thing that I'm concerned with right now is that they're going to lack damage because their second major damage threat has to be Shyvana here. And Shyvana's getting starved. Meanwhile, CJ has a blood-boiled Kog'Maw, a Cassiopeia, and a Hecarim. They have massive damage and carry potential out of 3 sources. Meanwhile, Trace is getting shut down. That puts even more pressure on the Pilot to perform in this game because he has to have that big-time carry performance in order for Jin Air to succeed. Meanwhile, CJ Entus has a lot more fallback options, I feel. If Pilot dies first in a fight in the mid-game at this point because Trace is very low in terms of his gold, half the CS, that's disastrous. Even though he is getting a lot more gold thanks to the completed Skirmisher Saber from this Gromp right now. Meanwhile, Ambition's just going to take that.
Yeah, we might have a bit of a dive onto Shy here in the top lane, but I think they were spotted by a ward coming up river too, but it looks like it will allow them to actually get this top turret. which will be nice. They may just barely edge out the first turret of the game here, as bot is probably going to go down for CJ any moment. Wow, they can't quite get it. And so CJ will take that first turret.
Shy could be setting up to get dove, however. There is a ward in the tri-brush, so he will be seen in that situation. Chaser not going to risk it, just going to go for the easy. But the problem now for Jin Air is that this wave has not been bounced off the turret. Now Shy is not going to freeze it, he's just going to push it out.
Yep. Well, he's probably going to be going back to get home guards pretty soon here too, and I think CJ has got a really good long-term plan to set up for the second dragon now as well too. With this home guard Hecarim teleport engage, wouldn't that give them a pretty big edge?
Well, yeah, especially because Trace doesn't have any real combat stats yet either.
GBM doesn't too.
So it's not very good. So Jin Air here, I think this is really a precarious situation for them, to say the least. Already down that dragon. And nearly all of that gold differential is between Shy and Trace at this point, about 600 of it, just between those two champions.
I guess Coco just has a tier at the moment, but he'll probably be able to go pick up a Blasting Wand before the next dragon.
Yeah, we'll see if he goes for a Blasting Wand or for Abyssal. Jinx not going to be doing a lot yet, because Jinx did the Avarice build for a little bit harder scaling, but more weak,
at least.
Yeah, more weakness in the early game.
Drag it
now, GBM going for the Athenes after the arm guard.
It's a little bit of CDR, but not a lot of damage.
Very, very worrisome indeed. Well, there's the BF sword for Pilot, but Jin Air's a long, long way from being able to fight right now, and the longer they wait, CJ just kind of scales harder in every conceivable position right here.
Coco just goes back and finishes Archangel's staff.
That's actually really aggressive.
Well, with this dragon coming up in 50 seconds, it's probably a good choice to just get that little edge, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't...
Oh, maybe a plan to ambition here. They're going to take out this mid lane turret.
Yeah, you can't leave Jinx alone with that.
Yep.
Good rotation by Jin Air into the mid lane right before the dragon comes up. Now they may be able to push that wave back and see what they can do. But Trace still without a lot of meaningful items, and Shy going for the Bomby Cinder, actually.
I mean, at least Trace has that skirmisher so he can reduce damage on somebody he's jumping onto in the fight. But CJ trying to set up, trying to grab that Rift Scuttler. Ambition will grab it, or eat it rather. Grab it with his mouth.
Consume Smite.
Yep.
CJ definitely has the better setup right here. I don't know. This is such a bad position for Jin Air to be in. Yeah, the gold maybe even after that last turret, but this is not where you want to be. You can't contest these early dragons, and CJ has such a monster scaling composition. Jin Air's going to go for it in spite of no crab control.
And I think they're collapsing.
CJ can give this up if they want to.
Yeah, they don't need to. And here's a teleport coming in. Lee, or Shy rather, is going to be going on that. Chaser comes in, waits for it. Oh, and there's Siobhan over the top onto space. Gets dove immediately, but there's Shy to protect. Meanwhile, Dragon gets taken by Ambition, and Jin Air gets pushed back again. Oh, wow, a kill for space as well, too. There's first blood going to CJ. And just like that, a nice lead for them early on. Both Dragons' first blood, a turret to boot. And Jin Air, like we thought, just didn't have enough strength to fight that dragon fight.
And also, Jin Air missed two ults. They missed Chaser's ult and they missed Pilot's ult right there, and that could have been the crucial turnaround had the Sejuani ult and had the Jinx ult hit. They could have maybe used that Jinx passive to power on through, considering GBM was holding his wild growth for that possibility. Instead, Trace just dies in the bottom side, and there's no real answer from Jin Air. It's difficult if they let Ambition get an angle on the dragon like that to take it.
Yeah, it seems that way. Well, this is going to allow CJ to do a little bit more counter jungling too and start to try to starve out Trace, which they have, well, continue to starve out Trace, I should say, I guess. He's still way down on CS. Just Shy at the moment. Trinity Force done for space now. Pilot's still looking to finish that IE, but it's going to be a while.
Yeah, really smooth transition from CJ into the top side as well, just pushing down turrets as much as they can now that they have this Kog'Maw with the Trinity Force. And there's nobody here to defend it. Trace is the only one on the top side, and he can't deal with Space's Cog right now. Nope. I think CJ is just going to run away with this one, though. This is a terrible, terrible situation for Jin Air to be against a comp that scales like CJ's.
Well, when you look at this too, yeah, they might get this bottom turret here, but yeah, how do you really fight this later on? How do you push against it? This works just as long as it's only Shy there. When Ambition comes back, they barely get Share out, or a Pilot out, rather. Oh, Trace, wow. Just getting blown up under the turret, too. What in the world was that? Madlife just gets a really nice ult off.
Well, he just has no items right now.
I guess so.
He's not tanky. Trace also not using his ult right there. He made I didn't check and see if he had a full Fury bar or not, but I don't think he expected the damage coming in from that all in. But that's a tier 2 traded for a tier 1 in the end. And now CJ with a very large gold lead for their composition and for this point in the game.
Yeah, we've seen this type of thing before, and Jin Air has really kind of struggled to come back this season. And
Space going for a QSS as his second item, actually. Just worried about the crowd control that he could get hit by. He knows how far ahead he is. No core item even finished for Pilot yet, so.
Well, really no core item finished except for that Athene's across the entire Jin Air team right now. Yeah, I suppose Juggernaut's done for Chaser, but still. There's the IE now for Pilot. So Jin Air picking up a couple items, but it's unfortunate that they're losing these fights and losing these objectives right before they get the items that could have helped them keep them.
The way that Jin Air can still win this is if they get some sort of massive team fight in a choke where they can clog it with Wild Growth and with the Glacial Prison and with a Sejuani ultimate. But that's about it, and CJ's not giving them that opportunity. They're just sieging right now with the Blood Boil in the zone.
Could come from the side here with his ult.
Man, I don't think this works.
Well, Shy's right there. He's going to find him. Trace kind of committed. Now Pilot gets locked up by that Dark Binding. Chaser with an ult, but no follow-up there. Che tried to get up there for maybe a death sentence, but
well, they had to have the follow-up from the Shyvana, and Shy was busy zoning Shyvana off the turret, so there's just no way. And Jin Air has had issues. We talked about this earlier with their engage. And
oh, this grab on the Coco. He's going to go in now. Nice box chase, going to get blown up. Ambition with a nice zone with that absolute zero there. Shy comes over the top. They take down the turret. Madlife with a couple people on his ult. He's going to lock up Pilot, and Pilot going to get destroyed there. Madlife manages to make it away from the turret. So 2 kills right there. CJ losing nobody, and it looks like they may gain this inhibitor turret off of it as well. They will.
They're going to get it.
Man, this will not be a long game, will it?
I'm afraid not, Doa.
It's not looking like this one's going to go Jin Air's favor, and, you know, again, if they lose this game 1, I don't know.
Yeah, there we go. Che and Chaser get hit by the Cassiopeia ult. Nice back off right there, so not even interrupting the absolute zero because he hit it before the Flay could actually go down. And then Pilot gets locked up and destroyed right before they take that inhibitor. And, you know, Doe, we've seen a lot of teams in a lot of regions try and run a tank top and a Lulu mid, either as part of a Juggernaut composition or with another hyper carry like Jinx. And I'm just not a fan. It's not that it can't work, it's that it puts too much emphasis on that carry, and if something goes wrong, there's no real way to recover.
Yeah.
And Trace getting so far down early meant that truly in this composition, it was all down to Pilot, and Trace just gets destroyed too quickly. Meanwhile, CJ, they did pick a composition with some risks. They have an immobile AD carry. They have an immobile mid laner and a top laner that really requires a lot of items to deal damage to the backline. But with the advantages they got in the early game, they're able to accelerate that scaling, and now here we are where it looks like it's going to take kind of a miracle for Jin Air to come back out of this one. And I mean, it's only a 5K gold lead at less than 20 minutes, but you can't underemphasize the scaling of CJ's composition and what that gold lead means.
Well, I mean, still, you can just say it's a 5K gold lead at 20 minutes. That's still significant by itself here. Next dragon up in 5 seconds.
There's no way Jin Air can contest the dragon either. So they didn't make enough also out of that duo in mid. They didn't get a substantive advantage in sending that Shyvana into the 1v2. Maybe better to give GBM the 1v2 in this situation because he's less item dependent in this composition. They don't really need GBM to be dealing damage as long as he has that utility. Would have been a lot more useful to have Trace with a bit more farm.
Wow, so if CJ manages to close this out without Jin Air getting a dragon, which I think is totally possible right now, that'll be 3 games in a row that Jin Air has been denied any dragons by CJ.
It's pretty depressing.
It's a pretty huge stat. That does not happen a whole lot. And, oh, Ambition nearly get blown up there. Takes a lot of damage from the turret. They use Pilot's ultimate as well, and Chasers too, but couldn't get a kill. And Chase ult, they used so much, and all they did was barely save the turret.
Oh, no. Trace got that one. Shy may have gotten himself in a bit of trouble right here.
Yeah, there's the Dragon's Descent. Shy just ulting away from it.
Yeah, that's much bigger for Hecarim than it is for Shyvana, because Shyvana's ult doesn't really have a cooldown besides that Fury bar. So
yeah. Oh, GBM!
Mad Life has been just landing hook after, or not hook after hook, bind after bind tonight. His skill shot accuracy has been really good, and he and Space working very well to pick up these kills under the towers.
Oh, I like what you said. Oh, Mad Life getting grabbed here. They're going to try to bring him back in, but he dodges a W from Pilot. Oh, Shy, hello, over the top, just wanting to zone them with that turret, but nobody really poking at it.
Maybe not the world's best teleport.
I don't think so. I'll probably still get the turret either way, but Shy just working on the intimidation factor at this point. There we go. He'll take it out. But yeah, I mean, Mad Life, just having that confidence back is really what seems to be allowing him to be making plays like he's been making again.
It's also that Space seems more confident himself.
Yeah,
Space always, for the last couple of years, has seemed very reluctant to follow up on Mad Life's playmaking, but something really clicking between the two of them this season, where finally Space will play aggressively when Mad Life goes aggressive, has that trust, has that faith in his support that to follow up and complete an all-in.
I mean, say what you will about Woong's aggressive arcane shifts back in the day, but he really did produce a lot of great opportunities for Mad Life to just be Mad Life.
Yeah, and only now is the armor starting to be built on Trace. Meanwhile, Blade of the Ruined King will be finished very soon for Space here.
Yep.
And after that, he'll move into that Last Whisper, but not enough armor really to justify the Last Whisper yet. Meanwhile, GBM has that Athene's and I guess a Blasting Wand now, probably going to be trying to get Death Cap, but it's just not a lot you can do.
Well, the kills on CJ really going where they need to go as well, too. On to Mad Life, and a little bit for Space and Coco, too. So that's nice.
It is. Nice.
Mostly Mad Life.
Well, both Space and Mad Life have that 100% kill contribution rate so far in this game. And CJ playing great.
Yeah, they are, but I'm afraid to say that. Like, I feel like every time I say that, they will just immediately lose the team fight horribly and then throw the entire series. But I'll take a risk and say that they are indeed playing great right now. And it looks like they're going to be able to secure an inhibitor pretty soon here. Flame Choppers running out, and there it goes. So inhibitor taken easily. And CJ's just got total control of the map right now. They can bait Baron anytime they want. They can take their dragons at leisure at this point. Trace is not going to get a chance to smite anything in his own jungle ever again.
Massive lead.
Yep.
8K.
8K at 23 minutes. And 5 kills to 0, 7 turrets to 3. The inhibitor. I mean, it's hard to dominate harder than CJ is dominating right now.
And especially with these scaling champions. That is a huge blow, I think, to Jin Air's mentality in this series. Oh, yeah, totally.
I mean, the thing is, with Jin Air, like we said, if they lose the first game, they usually lose this. Well, they have always been losing the second game harder. Yeah, so if they lose this first game like this, it's not looking for the series. Coco flashes away there. Gets out of it. They're still going to be able to get that turret. Oh, nearly getting it.
Don't want to start the resets right there. Yeah. Smarter just to back off, at least for the moment. There's the first super minion.
You don't want Pilot to start getting excited. Because honestly, that's the thing that could turn it around. You know, if Jinx gets a really good team fight, Ambition gets grabbed there. There goes the turret. But yeah, Jinx is able to get those resets and do a lot of damage. Maybe they can turn it around. Space getting chunked pretty hard there. Trace may come in. They're going to turn on him. Trace forced to ult away, actually. There we go. Ult used. Chaser, they're going to follow him in there. Wild Growth onto Trace, but Shy going back into the back lines, forcing Jin Air away. They're going to run over Pilot through all of that as well, too. And Space is going to take out Shay with ease. There's a double kill there. And goodbye, Jin Air. Shy just decides he wants to kill Chaser, because why not?
Mad Life hit the hook onto Pilot, or hit the bind onto Pilot in that fight, and then ulted him to keep him CC'd forever. Wow, what a great game from Mad Life.
Look at this. Another great game from Mad Life, as he's had in the last couple series now. And at 25 minutes, one of the quickest games we've seen all season, CJ takes down Jin Air, and with a win like that, Honestly, I think we might be in for a pretty quick best of 5.
I think we might be too, but Mad Life again, he has shown up in the last few matches.
Mad Life is back.
Yeah, that last fight, he got into the mix, hit Pilot with the bind, and then used his ultimate to keep him CC'd that entire time. There was no chance. And that's the only threat that Jin Air decided to pick with their draft. I mean, they were very reliant on Pilot. I don't agree with these style of compositions, so Jin Air, they did pick different champions, but I think they all in a little bit too hard right there. And
you know, lately it seems like if the first 10, 12 minutes don't go well for Jin Air, they just look completely lost for the rest of the game. You know?
I don't know what to say. Jin Air, it doesn't seem to be working for them. I think they're mind gaming themselves at this point. They used to have that very strong early game, very calculated, get big kill leads, but then get outscaled. And now they're trying for some of these hyper carries, but they can't survive that that early game.
Yep, it's a crisis of identity for Jin Air, and it couldn't have come at a worse time too. They are smashed in the first game of the playoffs here on Champion Spring, and it is a best of 5. They could always come back, but again, historically, Jin Air has not done well if they lose that first game. We'll see if they can change the trend here in game number 2, but I'd be surprised.
Well, Trace doesn't look too disturbed at the very least.
Trace doesn't look to anything anytime, though, so Space looks happy, though.
Interesting plan coming in from CJ.
Yeah, well, worked well in game number 1, and Shy once again performing on that Hecarim. He's done so well on that champion lately.
Scary stuff.
Yeah, really scary stuff. I feel like Jin Air just has to go back to the drawing board here. Going into game number 2. We'll see what they come up with. So don't go anywhere, guys. The second game of the Champion Spring Playoffs, CJ versus Jin Air, will happen right after this short break. We'll be back right after this.